Hello everyone, welcome to our next snippet. So we did snippet 71 and 72, and the snippets are an idea for you to break a page. So the idea is to give you little snippets of ideas so that you can break a page if you're frightened of white space, and hopefully it may be able to take you further, or you might want to keep them just like this. I've kept them just like this as a record of the snippets, but you can take them further because that's the whole point. A snippet of an idea, that's the whole point of them. So we've just done snippet 72, so we'll now do snippet 73 on a piece of Pink Frog smooth card, 4 inches by 6 inches. I've got Pink Frog smooth card, 300 GSM, and I'm going to use Salty Ocean ink, Distress Oxide. You can use your Distress inks if you wish. So I'm just going to add a little bit of colour. You can see it's not even, it's quite patchy, it doesn't matter. So with the Salty Ocean, I'm just going to apply that colour. Just keep lifting and flicking the colour, just so that you get a little bit of a blend. So just keep flicking and applying the blend of colour. Can you see? I sort of lift, flick, and just apply that colour on there, and it gives you a nice, easy background. There's still lots of colour on there, but I'm not worried about that because I'm going to a slightly darker colour of Prize Ribbon. So let's add a little touch of Prize Ribbon, which is a darker colour. Again, just laying that on, it doesn't matter if it's patchy or whatever, and just lightly apply that colour, lightly flick, very lightly flick that colour. So flick the colour, and you can see that you've got that on there. And just so that you can see how much colour is left, this is your next sort of snippet. You can just add this to your next snippet, which we'll use, but you can see there is plenty of colour on there. So let's just move this out of the way. And then I'm going to use the 6x6 Stencil Wildflower 001. And I'm going to use the actual stencil itself. So it's up to you which way you use the stencil. And I'm going to use this floral here. And I'm just going to apply some simple Distress Oxide colour. Don't forget, this is a way to break down that page and so that you're not frightened to use the page. I've got the wrong colour. That's because the right colour is already out, Picked Raspberry. So I'm going to use a little bit of Picked Raspberry Distress Oxide ink. And then I'm just going to add that colour. Now you're adding that to a blue background. So don't forget, the colour isn't necessarily true because you've got that blue on there. It gives it a different feel. But the oxides, you can layer the colour. What I'm going to do then, you can hold your stencil in place with a piece of low tack tape if you wish. I'm then going to use Lumberjack Plaid. So let's take our Lumberjack Plaid, and then I'm literally just sort of going to sort of flick down just so that I touch some of the areas and not all with the red. I'll then go back to the Picked Raspberry and just add that to the floral. And then you can't pick the stencil up. So then we've got our first floral. I just adore this stencil. I'm then going to add another one, apply the same combination that I did before. And there's sort of, obviously there's moisture in your ink, so it does react the colour below a little bit. Now if you hold your stencil in place with a piece of low tack tape, that won't move. I'm just not wasting any time just to apply the low tack tape. I'm then going to take a little bit of that Lumberjack Plaid and apply it different each time. It just looks a little bit different. And this looks slightly darker because there's more darker blue there than there is here as well. So then I'm going to add another floral just here. Exactly the same way, I'm going to use the picked raspberry. Just apply. Again, the blue is a little bit darker up here. So it just gives it a little bit of a different feel, because you get a touch of the purple with the blue. And then we'll add some of the lumberjack plaid. Again, make it so each one is slightly different, and that has sort of more of a purple tinge to that. So let's just, we will spritz with water, but just not yet. And then I'm going to take, I'll clean my stencil afterwards. I'm then going to take my artsy background. Have I got my, I'm picking up a new stamp set here. There we go. Let's pick up my artsy. I think that's new as well. Let's pick up the artsy alphas and numbers, which is TE16. She says confidently. And then we'll just add some of the prize ribbon. So we'll add a touch of the prize ribbon to some area of the stamp. So I'm just going to add a little of that area there. And again, I've used that Distress Oxide, which has got the colour in the background. So I'm going to add a little bit here. So again, this is Distress Oxide, so reacts with water should I spritz with water. So just adding a little touch of that. And again, you can just make sure that you wipe the Distress Oxide just off your stamp, especially if you're going to use any permanent inks like the Versifying Clairs afterwards. I'm then going to use the background elements TE11 because I love the little bits of text and bits and pieces on this one. So let's use our grey ink, so our Morning Mist, and I love just using this stamp just to add touches of text. So I will just sort of place it on there, hardly press once, and it just sort of gives me a lovely little bit of text on there. Now, this text won't move if you add water. This text doesn't budge. But I love this text on TE11 because it makes the florals look a little bit more botanical. Just so that you can see that. Makes it look a little bit more botanical. Where are we? Then I'm just going to add a little bit of my grey Inktense pencil just around the edge of the floral. Now don't forget you've got that oxide underneath there. Now you can stop the snippet at any point you wish and then take a break and decide if you want to add any more elements in there. Now obviously I've got the oxide under there, so you just need to remember that that oxide is under there, so you will react that a little bit. Let's just, and then take a little bit off, and we'll just add a little bit of shading there. So just adding a little bit of shading just to the florals, just to give it a little bit. It just gives it a little bit of depth for me. And then I'm just going to spritz the background just a little bit, just to activate a little bit of the oxide ink. Just to give it a different feel. Now, if you're going to do that, you have to remember it's going to be very, look what you remove. It's going to be very difficult. Oh, and I just love that bit on the floral there. So I'm just adding a few more bigger blobs. I'll explain why. Because I like this sort of big blob here where it's bleached out on the floral. I just absolutely love that. So then we're just going to add a little bit of wording. So TE13, delight in nature. You don't want too much definition on these with bulky card pieces, because this is going in your snippets journal if that's what you're doing. If you're adding it as a card, then you can cut it out in white ink, not a problem. Now I'm just looking for my black ink pad, which has been used in packaging. Oh no, it hasn't, it's there. So I've got my black ink. Now you need to let that dry before you add any touches of white. So you don't need to press that too hard, you just need to give it a couple of seconds just to grab hold on there. So you've got that delight in nature on there. And really you would get the heat tool out, dry your card or let it dry naturally before you add any touches of white. Just give that a few splatters. The splatters just lift everything. And then if you've got time, you see, you're not clock watching, you know, you're just using your stamps at your own pace. I can then use, can't pick it up, Shadowed Elements TE12. Take that out. I can use the little bird. So we'll take our little bird. Won't bother tidying it up now. Use the little bird with our Nocturne ink. And then now you can decide where you want to add the little bird. Again, just give that a couple of seconds just to grab hold. And again, you would allow that to just dry before you actually did anything. I've got no, let's use the reverse of this. I have to make sure that that sort of gel pen is working. And now I'm just expecting a little bit too much. This is still wet. Once it dries, just add a little few more sort of touches of white just to your floral, little bit to the bird. And again, I would add some more splatters later, and then I would also add a little bit of shading just to the delight in nature. And just blend that out. I don't know where I've put the water, but I can't see it now. Just add a little definition. And then that is your little snippet done. And if you add it to your black journal, it definitely sings more when you add it to your black journal, but add your white touches as well. Love to all. Bye for now.